Let me move directly into something very, very interesting. A panel discussion. This is a Mapic India special that will focus on global retail trends in 2022. And we will put the spotlight on Retail Dive with global leaders, retailing in the new reality and way forward. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome all our speakers, and they are online. He is Managing Director, Puma India and Southeast Asia. Please welcome Abhishek Ganguly. We're going to try and get them on screen right now. Managing Director, Puma India and Southeast Asia, Abhishek Ganguly. Okay, we'll just try and sort that out. Technology is an opportunity, but it does come with its share of challenges, and we are there to face them. So, okay, there we have them. Please put your hands together once again for Managing Director, Puma India and Southeast Asia, Abhishek Ganguly. He is Senior Vice President, Asia South, and Managing Director, Southeast Asia and India, Lars Schmidt. He's from Swarovski at Singapore. Founder, Crep Affair UK. Please welcome Daniel Spineth. He is Director, Benoy UK. A warm welcome to Mike Wilson McCormick. And our moderator, and we have our moderator in person here, Chief Operating Officer and Joint Managing Director, Anurag Pankaj Renjan. Pankaj, it's over to you and the panel, and all the best.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So I have a very interesting panel. All my panelists are sitting somewhere across different parts of the globe, I'm told. So I have Abhishek, I don't know which part of the world are you in?
I'm in Bangalore.
Bangalore. And I know somebody, Lars, where are you based right now?
I'm currently in Singapore. Can you guys hear me?
Yes. Very well. And Daniel, where are you based?
I'm currently in Amsterdam.
Wow.
Between London and Amsterdam.
Yeah. And Mike?
I'm currently in the UK. Cold, wet. Wish I was with you, to be absolutely frank.
So, you know, it's just amazing. I don't think we would have done this before 2 years back, that we would have got panelists and sharing views, sitting in a hotel in Mumbai and talking live to each of you and to share experiences. Welcome, and it'll be great to chat each of you. I do understand we are running behind time, and Abhishek has a flight, so I will jump straight to picking up the discussion from here. So, ladies and gentlemen, today's discussion is really to get these stalwarts to talk about their experiences of what's happening globally in retail in this new age world, and also to share their experiences from their own businesses, what they are hearing from their colleagues, what can we pick up from an India perspective as well. So, coming to you, Abhishek, you represent a very fast-growing brand who has been, growing significantly in India. I keep seeing stores pop up every now and then. I go to a new shopping center, a new high street. There is a new Puma store which is there. And I believe you've been there with them for long. You were the second employee for Puma in India, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So, Abhishek, what's happened? Why suddenly this new push to huge amount of growth? Is suddenly the opportunity become bigger, or you said the opportunity was always there and we'll go build on it? And what's the global telling us?
Well, I'll talk about India, and I'll talk about last 1 decade has been great for us. We came into India about 15 years back, initially 5 years. We were more or less settling down, trying to find our footing. But I wouldn't say it's just now that we are seeing great progress. Actually, we have had a very strong growth over the last 1 decade, last 5 years, even more profound. And what is heartening to see is, despite all the challenges in the world in the last 2 years, and with various lockdowns, closures, despite that, we've seen unprecedented growth in our business in India. I think a lot of it is to do with the category that we are in. I think health and wellness and sports is something that everyone is endorsing during pandemic. People would like to contribute.
Sorry, I think we'll just wait for a second for Abhijit. Abhishek, sorry. Till the time Abhishek joins back. Lars, since you represent a big lifestyle brand like Swarovski, what's been, there must be a big change which you would have been anticipating, or is there a change which you're anticipating in the new business models going forward with brands like yourself, looking at globally and as well as in India?
I see Abhishek just joined back. Would you like him to continue given his flight schedule?
No, I think if Abhishek is joined back, can we just probably go back to him first, if you don't mind?
I'm so sorry about this, guys. I know
No
it's
problem.
my end and not yours.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry about that. Well, I was talking about during the pandemic, despite all the challenges, we're seeing great uptake in our business driven by trends around sports, fitness, health and wellness. And I think that is a clear phenomenon, not just in our country, but across the world. And our category is expanding and growing because of that. The other thing is, sports-inspired clothing is one of the most, one of the biggest trends in fashion today. So athletic leisure, as we call it, is growing phenomenally, which is almost half of our business in India. And I think driving these two consumer trends and a strong focus on our distribution, on digital, both on commerce as well as on the marketing side, has really led us to great growth that we're seeing in these times. So can't complain. I know it's very tough for the businesses with the lockdown and closures and very difficult, but what we have seen is every time things open back, business comes back very strongly. So nothing to complain from our category and my brand perspective.
Abhishek, Puma has been there for more than a decade now into India. But what's changed in terms of format sizes? Is there a change in terms of the format sizes globally and in India? Are we seeing bigger, larger format stores, or are we moving to smaller format stores? Are we doing combinations of that? What's the new take on the expansion strategy for a Puma store?
Well, it's very clear that the consumer today is looking for experience in offline retail, and that is very difficult to give in a small, 100 square meter, 1,000 square feet stores. And hence, we are increasing our formats to the upwards of 3,000 square feet and above. And that is driven by the fact that it's no longer just convenience shopping and people do that more online. And today when people come in a store in offline retail, they're looking for just beyond buying the product, but it is about engaging with the brand, living the experience. And hence, size is one of the important factors because you can't grasp that in a small format. So we're definitely upsizing our store. We're opening 5,000-6,000 square feet stores now. Having said that, right sizing is extremely important. Business has to be sustainable, and hence I would say that we're very, very conscious of the fact that we don't want to open large brand museums across the country, but we are also keeping commerciality in perspective. So the truth lies somewhere in between, where one can grant the entire brand experience, but also keep a very strong focus on profitability.
And Abhishek, everybody talks about India that there is a new, there's always there, but this is really a affirmation of the fact that a lot of India, which is there, is really, and where the purchasing power, which is humongously been still not tapped, is really in the tier 2, 3, and 4 cities in India. The populations of cities which is beyond 300,000, 500,000, and 1 million people. Is a global brand like yours have a very aggressive strategy to get into those cities? Or is it still, those cities are still emerging from your brand perspective? They're still time away from your brand, from your perspective as a business leader?
Well, I think today we are in about 140
And Abhishek, we've seen that in the recent times, some global brands have started collaborating with Indian partner brands. When I mean doing joint partnerships. So, for example, X big fashion global house partnering with an Indian designer to launch a lineup. Do we see somebody think like that as new trends coming in India, where it's not going to be a pure global lineup, but there will be a lineup of the global brand, but there will be a section which will be curated with an Indian touch or with an Indian brand partner, which could be like I see your logo on your T-shirt. One side is Puma and one side is Ferrari, right? So and two stalwarts, global giants coming together and putting a lineup. Do you think something like that will come in the new trend in India as well?
I think complementary brands, partnership and collaboration is a great direction. I think that's a mutual sharing of consumer cohorts within two brands, between two brands. And that's a phenomenon which has emerged very strongly in the last one decade. I think both in our business on the sports side as well as in the fashion side. That's globally, like you said, we are a very strong partners with strong motorsport brands like Ferrari and Red Bull and Mercedes and Porsche. So that is very very I would say quite significant part of our business. Also in India, they have global ripple as well. Also, from an India perspective, local for local relevance is extremely critical. We strongly believe in creating brand relevance in the markets that we are in, and specifically in India, I can talk about we have collaborated. I don't know how much you've seen, but with Virat Kohli on the sports and athleisure side, we've collaborated with Virat Kohli, which is with his brand called 1A. And Puma 1A today is a very, very successful collaborative franchise that we've been able to create. We have done the same thing with KL Rahul now with his brand called Wonder. And they're already in our stores, they're available online. Very strong collaborations. We've also worked with Masaba on the fashion side, so Indian designer, stylist, and I think there is a continuous endeavor to find such partnerships which speak to our audience in a fresh and innovative way. And I think we will continue to look at locally relevant collaboration.
And before you go, passing words to as a global brand operating in India for a long time, to the leaders to how to reshape their business. Any passing comments?
Well, I think I firmly believe that the way we looked at our business 10 years back is last season. The way we looked at our business 5 years back is also less relevant today. So I think I'm not here to preach anyone about their business, but what I can talk about is our success is stemming from the fact that we're continuously, challenging the way we've reached at a particular space, and even if the space has been very enriching for us and very successful for us, we're constantly reevaluating our game plan. And a constant reevaluation of game plan is extremely important, and hence a dynamic, flexible mindset in leadership is very important as we get into the world which is always changing and probably is still very unknown. How consumer behaviors change, and hence the mindset is not to fix up to one strategy or one approach and say, hey, this is the holy grail of success.
Thank you so much, Abhishek. I understand you have a flight to catch, so we will let you go off and catch you soon. Coming to you, Lars. So, you represent a very, very brand which is so well known in India, and with having a presence for so many years with stores. So, what's changing, or what's the new strategy for Swarovski in India, and what's happening globally as well? It would be great to hear from you what's happening with the brand.
Yeah, so thanks very much first of all for having me, and I can actually echo a lot of things that Abhishek has just mentioned. So I think it's not exclusive to any of the lifestyle brands or brands within our category. I think it's a global phenomenon, and I wouldn't say a I mean, we've heard about athleisure today. That was a trend that already existed pre-COVID. It was just accelerated, by far. And then we all knew about omni-channel, and everybody was talking about omni-channel prior to COVID. But COVID has really made everyone aware of the importance, and has really made everyone put a stronger focus on it. So a lot of things have been accelerated, I would say, but it's all trends that the industry, I would say, was aware of even before that. And one thing that I can definitely agree on with Abhishek is there's no one size fits all. So COVID has also shown us, I think, that global relevance is extremely important. So having a global brand such as Puma or such as Swarovski to set the overall framework, to set the overall awareness, but then really looking into locally relevant content, locally relevant campaigns, and to a certain extent even locally relevant product, which also goes back to your collaboration point. So local collaborations that customers can relate to, I think is something that we will see more and more on top of global collaborations that will, of course, create a buzz and create awareness moving forward. So I can agree with him on a lot of these items, and I think it's a situation for a lot of other brands as well.
You know, Lars, I remember having been to fashion shows, and a lot of the collaboration which you talked about in India, I've seen a lot of the designers Swarovski has very, very successfully partnered with, and multiple fashion shows where it's been inspired by a Swarovski collection, models walking up the ramp with. But it's still not translated that much to stores. And now we see suddenly after this COVID world, when we call the new normal, a lot of the fashion brands, which is I would say the fashion brands, the iconic Indian designers have started coming and making lineups for a lot more of the when I mean regular people, in saying a lot more wider audience per se. So you see Swarovski partnering and going down the path and making it much more accessible to a lot more wider audience now with partnerships and collaborations and through your stores?
I love the question, and you read our minds, so to speak, because it's one of the big focus topics that we are currently working on. As you rightfully say, we always have been a collaboration partner of the fashion industry, and that goes back for decades. But it's nothing that we have really leveraged on for our own brand. We have more acted as a supplier, I would say, to the fashion industry, to the haute couture industry, and to designers all over the world. However, now with the big trends of collaborations and also with the importance of locally relevant products and collaborations, we're now also bringing those collaborations into our stores. So at the moment, not yet in India, but in some of the other regions, you are actually able to shop as a customer, to shop some of those collaboration items on our Swarovski.com website. So it's the first small step, but we also opened a new flagship store in Zurich just a couple of weeks ago, where we also have a section that is dedicated towards these collaboration items. So rather than representing Swarovski as a brand, the ultimate goal is really to represent the brand as a lifestyle and to create a whole crystal lifestyle, which again goes above and beyond the old Swarovski that people may be aware of today. And I think it also is one result of the development of the past 2 years, because people are looking for something more exclusive, something different, something locally relevant, something they can relate to. I think collaborations do tick a lot of these boxes.
So you mean to say that in some time we could see a Swarovski-inspired sneakers coming with people wearing suits and wearing Swarovski-inspired sneakers as well?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Great.
Maybe not so much in tie, as we learned in the previous session, but sneakers for sure.
Yeah.
And actually, in fact, we just launched together with Nike a new limited edition sneaker. And it's not the first sneaker that we have done together with one of the bigger sports brands, but you will see more of that moving forward for sure.
And what happens to the store's format size? Is that remain constant, what is there for India, or is there a change happening in that also from a global experience now?
I think similar to what Abhishek mentioned. So during COVID, of course, we were all forced to put a much stronger focus on the digital world and to put a much stronger focus on online. However, I'm a strong believer in offline retail and bricks and mortar. I interaction is much higher in the offline world as compared to the online world. So offline can still offer something that online is not able to offer yet. And I think it's the experience that Abhishek mentioned, but that experience does require space. And it cannot be just transactional, it needs to be experiential, right? So there needs to be some additional element to it, and hence also for us the footprint is rather growing than shrinking, I would say, generally, also in India as well.
Great. Coming to you, Daniel. Daniel, you represent a brand called Crepe Affair, and you represent a very interesting business, which is food and beverages. Daniel, are you there?
I'm here. Yeah.
Okay, sorry, we didn't see you on the screen, that's why.
Can you see me?
Yes, absolutely. Hi. So Daniel, you represent a very interesting field, which is the F&B. And all over the world, what we've seen is that the growing need for F&B in various kinds of formats emerging, and there are lots of new trends. So please tell us from the what we always say is from the developed world, and which is we pick up trends in saying this is something which is happening in the F&B world there, and that's when the rest of the world starts picking up. So what's happening there in the F&B world in the global scenario now?
Well, loads is happening. I mean, I'd like to effectively also refer to Abhishek and Lars before. It's all about the experience. So, and we're in an enviable situation with food and beverage that effectively it's very difficult to replicate that online. So we are, to a great extent, to me, a very strong component into this experience that consumers and landlords and developers are seeking. I think one of the big trends, and this also was referred before, is corporations looking more and more at F&B not just as a standalone operation, but as a component into a general retail environment. What we're doing more and more is looking at partnerships, store in store. I mean, sure, it's been a while since Starbucks went into bookstores and so forth, and you see a lot more of this happening where food and beverage, experiential food and beverage, mainly all-day dining snack options, are going multi-channel, not just online, but effectively starting to go into the classic non-food retail spaces as well. I think that's one trend. It's the cohabitation between non-food retail and food and beverage to create this experience. And to benefit the consumer, but also we see the retail and get more bang out of the buck in the retail experience. Secondly, and this is a trend that's really started just before COVID, is trend toward digitalization, easier, faster order processes, whether that's using the telecom as an order system, whether that's iPads, whether that's it's just giving consumers much faster and easier access to their experience. Three, I believe, is speed. People, the whole food and beverage industry is no longer defined by 2 or 3 or 4 meal occasions, but it's people graze, people eat around the day, all the time, and they like to pick up their food, whether it's a snack or a meal, very, very quickly. So those are kind of the, I would say, consumer areas that F&B is focusing on. There's another very important, I would say, fight almost, which is the fight today for labor, for staff. And I think food and beverage industry has historically been an industry where you have a lot of people coming in, whether they're students or people, particularly in my case where we're based out of London and developing internationally. They come to London for instance, to learn a language, and people are more and more interested, staff members are more and more interested in a great balance, a life-work balance, and it's very, very and not just focus only on the customer experience. It's extremely important that we get the right talent, we retain the right talent, and that the talent that we have are happy, genuinely happy.
And Daniel, with the world being so distributed ethnically and even in countries like in India, diversity is so huge and eating habits are so different. On one side, we are very unified in terms of our eating habits, particularly when it comes to fast food. When it's just a burger or a pizza, we're still very united in terms of the way it's eaten. But when it comes to other parts of food, it tends to get localized a lot. Do you see any new changing, emerging trend that it's going to be a lot more about fusion foods? People are willing to experiment more with their foods, or it's going to get more specialized? Because I never heard about 10 or 15 years back about gluten-free options, vegan options. Lactose intolerant was still there, but in a country like India, lactose intolerant was, it was not looked as a disease, not as a deficiency or a disease or something which you should, people would talk about. Because growing up, I remember Indian mothers saying that milk is the most important thing, part of the meal in a day. Lactose something was neglected. Oh, this is nothing. There's nothing to be done like that. But now when we go to restaurants, we see clearly mentioned this is vegan, this is gluten-free, this is dairy-free. 4 kind of milk options in a Starbucks as well, even in a country like India, which is evolving, I would say, in terms of the food and beverage palettes, in terms of habits. Do you think this gets more and more complicated and more specialized because people are choosing to do that, or is it just some of those things which will be around, but it'll be still be in boxes?
I think you're right. I think there is a clear tendency, first of all, what you mentioned is transparency. So there is a requirement for the industry to really show what it is you're selling for various reasons. For medical reasons, sometimes, but also lifestyle reasons. So people are effectively going more and more trending towards vegan. And there's some moral reasons for that, the lifestyle reasons for that. And we, as an industry, have obviously the obligation to clearly highlight this. This is going to continue. There's going to be mentioned the word fusion. Yes, there's going to be more and more, I would call it almost stealing from type of tendencies. For instance, to give you an example, one of our best sellers in the prep world is our Mexican chicken. So we've shamelessly been stealing from the Mexican category to put those ingredients into a crepe. You might be interested here, that's on a new concept that we're developing, which is called crepe and roll, which is a filled crepe, that one of our key SKUs is going to be an Indian vegan dal type of product. So it is effectively, I think, there is a real democratization in food. People travel more and more. People know about various foods in different regions. And we're going to be stealing interesting flavors, interesting food variants from a certain category. We could be reapplying that to the host foods that we're dealing with.
Great. Thank you so much, Daniel. Can we move to Mike? Hey, hi, Mike. Good evening. Yes, we can see you. We love the beautiful picture behind you. Are you really there, or is something which you designed?
Boy, I wish I was there. No, this is a project in Thailand, as it happens. It is a little project, and interesting. Talking about food and beverage, this is the top level of a project in Bangkok. And that whole idea around experience and around you need so much more these days than just retail or food and beverage sitting on its own. It's just a perfect demonstration of the efforts that we have to go to actually attract people to these destinations. Of course, what you don't see here is there's a fantastic view out of this top level from the course. So yeah, I really wish I was there.
But then that's what I want to hear is from you, Mike, is how's the, you've been designing shopping centers and retail spaces for quite some time and have a fair amount of experience as yourself, as well as the organization which you represent, Binoy in India, is what's changing? How is it changing? What's the global trends coming up in shopping centers? Are we going to see still the same box-like malls? Then people started talking about a lot more open spaces. Is it a combination of those? I don't know if you caught the last session. We had Atul Ruia, and I know Binoy has designed Phoenix's some of the malls, and he talked about that today my new anchor is going to be a convention center. So tell us what's the change which is happening in the shopping centers, and what are you incorporating and telling the developer clients and partners what's the new age shopping center in the future going to look like?
Yeah, thanks. I did manage to just catch a little bit of the previous session, and I was listening to Atul speak. I heard the term urban escape, which I think is a great way of explaining it, and I think you posed the question, are we going to see sort of, more of the same sort of retail boxes? I would suggest absolutely not. I think our clients come to us, and this is not just India, this is all over the world, and they will quite often use that term, I want a place of distinction, I want something iconic. Now, I think if that word, iconic, it gets used a lot, but by very definition, it means that if you can't be iconic if you repeat the same thing. Iconic means unique, and it probably means, in fact, that, you break a few rules, and we don't just do what was good enough yesterday, we have to move on, we have to think differently. So I think what we're seeing, and this is a global trend, I would say this is not necessarily unique to parts of the world, this is something I'm seeing everywhere, is the move towards space which is provided for social interaction, where you can do that experience. So we have a great relationship with the CEO, the ex-CEO of the Selfridges, and he uses this term of it's about invention versus inventory. And I think what we're trying to sum up there is it's not simply about efficiencies and square feet and what have you, but you've really got to be providing that space for those events and those activities to happen to really bring people together. I think COVID, don't particularly want to talk about COVID, it's nearly 2 years now, but I think a lot of people are using the term acceleration. And I think we were on this journey already, but all that COVID has done is actually accelerate some of these trends. So for instance, if we feel anything, is that people have been robbed of that social interaction and that ability to come together in a meaningful way. And I think as designers, we see all over the world this yearning for provide space for those activities and those opportunities for people to come together to interact. Whether that be, we've seen a real resurgence or a real focus on a return to nature. So, in the image behind me, you can see, there really is a focus on greenery, on biophilia, on air quality, on natural materials, whether it's the inclusion of sports things, like really looking at rooftops, putting roof tracks and trying before you buy sports, things like that as well. So it can be that kind of space. It can be the digitization of space. We see great examples where we're using, digital presentations. All those fantastic surprise moments. We look at China Terminal 4, China Jewel, where we put the vortex, the big waterfall in the middle. So some real landmark events. But I think more than anything, it is about. In a way, it's certainly not what we were talking about before, which is more sort of efficient retail models. It really is getting to that, and I'm going to use Darshan's term, that urban escape that we are seeing being the direction we're heading.
One question before we close, we're probably running out of time as well. Mike, when we started in India more than about 2 decades back of shopping centers, they were about 200,000 square feet, and we were trying to fit in tenants in, and we had a big challenge fitting up tenants because we didn't have shopping centers, we didn't have enough tenants to fill up those shopping centers. Then we graduated to an era, and we suddenly started building 1 million square feet tenants and shopping centers, and it became 1.5 million. We were talks about 2 million, 3 million, 4 million as well. And suddenly we've come back and the sizes seem to have shrunk in the shopping centers. Is that so? Is the size of the shopping center getting constrained to smaller boxes now, comparatively?
I don't think, unfortunately, it's a straightforward answer. I would say, we've got projects, we're designing projects at a complete range of sizes. We're designing projects which are 150,000 square feet, but quite often they don't stand alone. They will be part of a mixed-use development. And in fact, what we're really doing is we're really looking to establish and really reinforce those synergies where you might have hospitality, you might have workplace or residential or cultural venues. And the retail doesn't stand alone. The retail is actually part of a large community. For sure, we do still have some projects which are much larger. They might still be going on towards 1 million square feet. I would say that we're not seeing as many of those, and what we are seeing is developments which, in total, probably on many, 3-4 million square feet, but the retail portion of them is you could say it's the heart or it's the focus. It provides that space for interaction for communities and social value. But I think they operate most successfully when they're part of an adaptable and flexible mixed-use environment.
Great, thank you so much. Sorry, we've run out of time, and I really appreciate Abhishek, Lars, Daniel, and Mike for having joined from different parts of the world in different time zones. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your feedback and comments, and I'm sure a lot of us will gain some valuable insights from this session. Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Mapic.